Welcome back, everybody, to the Fortune Roots podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Couture, and this is episode 3, I believe, now of Fortune Fridays. And on this week's episode, I'm actually going to share with you guys just a quick overview of what I did this past weekend, which was go to the Total Archery Challenge at Crystal Mountain in Michigan. This was something I've been talking about on a couple of the past episodes, so you guys may have heard it or seen it on my Instagram that it was coming up, or have already seen pictures by now. This is going to be just a quick, brief overview over just kind of the whole trip altogether, like the solo adventureness of it. Because I'm actually going to have Aaron from Michigan Ambush Outdoors come back on, and him and I are actually going to deep dive and have the normal like about an hour or so long podcast on a Monday coming soon, hopefully. But we're going to go more in depth into kind of the logistics and what the event actually is and what it was like for me. But I just wanted to get on and kind of share, while it's so fresh in my mind, the whole experience. So leading up to this, I didn't really have anybody that necessarily was going to go with me to shoot. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to do this whole thing solo. Originally, I was like, I'm going to get myself a room at the resort at Crystal Mountain because they had a little promo like, hey, if you say you're part of Total Archery, you'll get a discount. So it's like, cool, do that, be right at the mountain, be nice and easy. Yeah, so I call in and I'm like, hey, I'm curious what your guys' rates go for the weekend. And I was hoping to get up there Thursday. And then that way, when I have my knock time on Friday, I was already there rather than just drive up really early Friday and kind of get some sleep. Well, they didn't have anything open for Thursday. And then they said their Friday and Saturday night they do, but they wanted $800. And that was with the discount. Which, to each their own. If you got the money for it, cool. Like, yeah, that would have been awesome. I don't have that kind of money to just blow on 2 days. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna look somewhere else, and just kind of laughed as I hung up, going, oh boy, they're probably going, what the heck's wrong with this kid? But then I even went to look for like Airbnbs, and that still was not a great option. They were still like, for the whole time that I was gone, like 600, $700. I'm like, I really don't feel like spending that kind of money. So then I was like, let's think outside the box. Why not get a tent site and try camping? I've done tent camping plenty of times in the past with my family, but I've never done it alone. So I did find a site, and it was only like $10 a night. So I was like, all right, yep, take my money. That sounds like a way better deal. And the campground I stayed at was absolutely gorgeous. It was right off of the Manistee River, which I guess, kind of backtracking, I got that, and I had to make sure I had all the gear that I was going to need for the weekend because I, again, never done this. So graciously, my girlfriend has she works at, she works at a like Bass Pro or Cabela's, so I got a discount, and I was on the tent because we had an old one, but it wasn't really weatherproof anymore, and if it were to rain, which it did rain, it would have soaked through. So I had to get myself a new tent, but even getting myself a new tent and then the paying for the tent site was still way cheaper than actually getting a Airbnb or going to the resort itself. But anyway, so I got that. I got a couple other things like a new sleeping pad and just different gear that I didn't think I necessarily had before, but I wanted and would definitely need for this weekend. And everything turned out just fine. I got to my campsite, so I guess going into Thursday, drove up. I was able to check in at 1. Got up there and got my site and began unpacking. And this site, just driving in, it was a family campground, which to me didn't matter. Like, I wasn't even going to be there for most of it, I didn't feel like. So I didn't need anything that, like, I was going to be quiet and obey all the rules and all that. Like, wasn't there to party. But yeah, so we get there, and this campground is absolutely stunning. It goes right across the Manistee River, and just I did not realize how clear that river was. I could actually see the bottom. Like there were some brown spots, but I was like, oh, that's because I'm actually seeing the sand at the bottom of the river and not just like the murky, muddy looking water that most rivers are, I feel like. So that was really cool to see. And it was very wide, or at least the part that I was at was very wide. It reminded me of just like a small inland lake. Um, but yeah, so got to the tent site, got there, and key to this is if you get a new tent and you're not sure, I got a 6 person, which is probably a little overkill for what I needed for the weekend, or it was overkill. But this was also like, hey, if I'm going to get this, I want to go camping again, not just me, but like bring friends, family, and all that good stuff. So went with a little bit bigger, but I had to figure out how to jerry rig this to make sure I can actually put this up by myself because some of them are so big, you have to have 2 people. Uh, but I'm glad that I tested it because a couple months ago when I first got it, I must have looked like a dork setting up the tent in the front yard. All the neighbors were looking at me like, "What's this kid doing?" And but that definitely came in handy because I got the tent up, and the first time I did it, it was like freaking 2 hours just to get it up. But that's because I had to figure out the little trick that I know now, and now that I did it, I got it all up like the tent and then the liner or the fly, what do they call it? I think they called it like a fly rain tarp or something like that. Went over the top of that, and that total took me about an hour. So definitely improved my time. Felt good about that. But yeah, I got to the campsite Thursday and just took that time to relax. I went out and uh, went to the Dollar General, got some hot dogs and some buns and a bag of chips, and was like, gonna keep it real simple. And dinner, gonna roast hot dogs over fire. I brought some firewood from work, which was super handy because it was free. I didn't have to spend any money. Um, yeah, did the whole hot dog thing, and then come night, slept like a baby. I wasn't sure how I was gonna do sleeping in a tent, especially kind of just. I mean, like, yeah, you feel safe in a tent because like I had walls around me, but in reality, like it's very easy to get inside somebody's tent. So there was a little bit of worry of what might be out there and what if people would mess with it, but everything went well. Well, there slept real well and woke up on that Friday. So Friday, I actually had set up for Black Rifle Coffee course, and I was super nervous. I had practiced decent amount this these last couple months getting ready in preparation for this event, which if you've been following the Instagram at all, you may have seen me post occasionally me practicing out in my backyard. But I was only able to do flat ground shooting. And I was a little worried how I would transition over to doing all these angled shots and like in between trees and everything. And on the first day, it was kind of like hit or miss. And I'm just going to go over kind of briefly so we can go more in depth with Aaron because I know he's got questions for me and I got some questions on him being a returning TAC attendee, I guess. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so Black Rifle, and I met this really cool guy. His name was Chris. I believe it was Chris. Yeah, I think it was, and his son. And we're walking through, and this guy ended up being somebody who actually like his company works for aerospace like design. And basically, what he said is he designs the wings on an F-18, which is a jet for those that don't know. And considering Top Gun just came out, I was like, oh shoot, that's really freaking cool. Like I'm all about that right now, just like most people that saw Top Gun over Memorial Weekend and the last couple weekends. It's freaking awesome movie. Highly recommend. Um, but I was like, so what do you think of the movie? And we got talking about that. And it was just cool because he invited, like I was at first shooting by myself. And because it's kind of like when you go there, you sign up for your knock time. You get there and then they drop you off, or you just because I had to get driven in a shuttle to that course separate from like the main hub of the other ones. So I got shuttled over to my course, They dropped us off, and then it's kind of like golf. So you can have your groups or pairs, or even if you're just golfing on your own, right? You can hop in between, and you just go and you wait for the people in front of you. So this guy and his son was in front of me, and then he, after only shooting the first one, that's when I walked up to the second. He's like, "Wait a minute." Like, are you by yourself? And I was like, yeah, it's my first time just kind of shooting by myself. And he said, and without even hesitating, he goes, come on up, walk with me, my son, and we can all shoot together. And that way you're not alone. We have a good time. So, and I just kind of got that vibe from everyone the whole weekend. Super nice. They have what they call vendor village, and they've got all different type of archery and hunting and like Black Rifle Coffee booth, the Sitka booth, Tethered, which is saddle hunting company booth, a local company called Painted Arrow. They're based out of Michigan, and they like have this new thing designed for like your phone right here. You can put this magnet right on the back of your phone, and then it goes onto your bow, so you can actually film all from your phone right on your bow. Super cool design. Um, I thought at least, and just a lot of really cool people. So going back to the Black Rifle course, we were walking through and I was hitting some, missing a few, and just really wasn't like super on. And I noticed that it seemed to be like my sight. My sight's all right. It's a fixed 5 pin, but I definitely learned over this, which that's the whole point of like even this podcast and what I'm trying to do and push myself is to continually learn new things and forge, create, learn these roots, figure out what you enjoy and what you like. And this happens to be one of them for me. And they have this, a lot of people running the Spot Hog Fast Steady, I think it was called, if I'm not mistaken. And it's basically a slider. So there's like a dial on the side of this sight. So if if I take my rangefinder out and I click, all right, it's at 52 yards, I can click and go bang, or not click. Rangefinder, you click, range it, it's 52 yards. All you do is you just turn that dial on the side to 52 yards versus I have 5 different pins. So I had one that was set for I sighted in for 20 yards, 30 yards, 40, and then a 60 and an 80. So anything in between, I had to kind of what they call split pins and kind of guess, go, I think this is about where a 50-yard pin would be, and just pull back and hope for the best. Whereas they were able to actually just really dial in and go, nope, this is actually 72 yards. Boom, turn the dial to 72, pull back, put that dot on your target, and release. And as long as you have good form and all that, and that it's truly sighted in correct, you should be good, is the idea. So I was definitely envious of all the guys that I saw with that, and I was like, crap, there's gonna be more of my money going to more hunting stuff, which is, it adds up quick. But just don't do it all at one time. I recommend saving up, taking the time, doing your research. Don't just get the first thing. Like, yes, that's one slider, but I'm sure there's more out there. So I'm going to do my research first. But yeah, so we were shooting with that one guy and his son, or I was on Friday, got done with that and had a really awesome time. And I actually skipped out on the last 2 shots because originally there was supposed to be 25 holes, so to speak, or 25 different shots on each course. But there was a whole thing apparently that got switched from it wasn't at Crystal Mountain in the past, it was at Boyne Mountains. Crystal Mountain was apparently a little smaller, so they had to make some modifications. We didn't know that. And I was trying to conserve some arrows because I had lost a few on that one, and I wanted to shoot Saturday so I could shoot my Sitka course that I signed up for. And I was like, I'll skip this one, thinking I had 4 more to choose from. I skipped the last 2, which were the only 2 on the entire course that were actually angled at all. So I was a little bummed out about that, but I made up for it Saturday. So Saturday, I had the Sitka course. The Sitka course was going to be much further ranges. I think it was anywhere from like 60 plus yards or something, maybe 50 plus yards. And these were not easy shots. These were like in between trees, really high up angles, really low. Some, I think one of them we ranged out to like 112 yards. Just super crazy stuff that you would never be able to do out in your backyard to practice this kind of or I mean, some people might be able to. I can't practice that far or get these kind of angles. And on top of it, you're hiking the whole time too, which shout out to Schnee's boots. I ended up getting getting a pair of Schnee's based off of Jack Carr's recommendation on hunting boots from his podcast, Danger Close. But those worked really well. I had super great traction. They were super lightweight. I can't remember the exact model boot that they were off the top of my head. But if you're curious, just shoot me a message. I can look that up real quick and answer that question for you. But yeah, so I wore those and I had really great traction. And this day, I actually was, again, obviously by myself, got in line, and this guy, Chris, and his daughter walks up to me, and her name was Olivia. And there was another guy behind us that was by himself, probably mid 40s ish to 50, who was also named Matt. So all of us actually like, hey, you guys all want to shoot together? Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Let's do it. And went through the course, and these guys were just super cool and encouraging. And they gave me some great info and insight into the sites. That's kind of where I learned more so about that. And they just were like, take the shot. You've never taken this far of a shot. Why not try it? And also shout out to John Barklow, because on these angles, the very first shot was like this really far down angle. And he was telling me, I can't remember if he said it on the podcast or if it was after the podcast, he was telling me about a bubble that I have on my site, and which is just your level. And you want your level, the bubble and the level, to be right in the center, especially when you're shooting those angles. Because if it's not, you're really going to see a difference in how your arrow flies. And because he said that, I was very cognizant of it. And on the second course, I took every single shot on the entire course, and I only missed 2 and only lost 1 arrow. I was very proud about that. And yeah, they weren't probably all the most picture perfect, like right in the dead center shots to get the 12 ring on the animal. But for me, the motto of the entire day was foam is home. Foam is home. We were all saying that. And again, just the camaraderie. There it is. I struggled with that one on the Barklow episode too. I got to practice that word. That I got from this entire thing was really cool, because it was a group of people that you'd never met, but all have a similar and shared interest. And we're able to come together around that and push each other no matter what the skill level. It wasn't pressure to like, oh, you're not good enough, or, it's just everybody out here looking to have a good time. And that's all it was. But I will say, if you haven't seen my Instagram post on this, one of the funniest things I think of the entire weekend actually came from Chris's daughter, Olivia, who's 10 years old. And we were walking from the last shot that we had done. We're moving up to the next hole or next shot, whatever you want to call it, for the next animal. And she starts like backtracking, and her dad goes, oh, no, Olivia, come this way. If you walk that way, you're going to be in a shooting lane and you don't want to get hit by an arrow. And I just look at her, I go, yeah, because if you go walk that way, this might be your last day. And she, no joke, looks at me, goes, well, not unless you get hit in the liver, because this could be your second to last day, because it'll take so long to bleed out. And we all just busted out laughing, like, what did you just say? And I was like, man, you must hunt with your dad, huh? And she goes, absolutely. And the rest of the time, she's just super outgoing and practicing her turkey calls and gobbling and all that stuff. It just really fun and made the entire weekend for me, being able to see somebody so young. And I mean, she's probably been shooting longer than I have. I think she even actually made that comment. But like, even though the shot may have been like a 72-yard shot or 80-yard shot, there's no shame when you go there to be like, hey, I'm not comfortable shooting this. Would you guys mind as we're walking up to go pull our arrows? if we stop at 40 yards or 30 yards, just so I could still shoot it. And that is not a problem at all. Everyone's just, yeah, no, keep doing what you're comfortable with, learn and have a good time. And I just would recommend to anyone that's even slightly interested, go to a local bow shop near you, look one up, find some good reviews. Even if it's a little out of the way and you're interested, go drive to a really good one and just say, hey, I'm looking or I'm interested. Can I try shooting some of these bows? And they'll hook you up. They'll let you get in there and try shooting them. Doesn't mean that you have to buy one that day. But getting into this, if you're just, like I said, just slightly interested, or if you already have a bow and you've never been to a total archery challenge, you have to do one next year. Like, if you have the time, there's several of them. It's not just Michigan. They start back in April. I think they started in Oklahoma. They've been to Pennsylvania. They went to Michigan. They're going to go to Utah. They're going to go to Montana. If you search Total Archery Challenge and find their website, they've got the list of places that are going this year. And then for next year, when they release it, like, follow them on social media, Instagram, Facebook, so you can keep up to date and know and sign up, because they go quick. There was a bit of an issue. I know when I went to sign up trying to get onto this thing, I didn't get on. I actually didn't get into it at first, which really bummed me out. But then emailed them like, hey, what's going on? And long story short, figured it out, got me in, and I am so happy because it was such a great trip. And again, highly encourage anybody slightly interested to go try it. If you know somebody that's done it, talk to them, ask them what they thought about it. Share this podcast with other people if you have been to a TAC and you feel the same way that I do about it, and you're kind of seeing from a quick overview of somebody who's new to this whole thing that's never been to one, that you think might be like, hey, see, this guy, he's never done one, went completely by himself. At least I'm going to invite you to come with me. And he had an awesome time. And so please share this. It helps grow the podcast. We got a pretty good community that's starting to build in here, and I'm really enjoying doing this, whether or not, like I said, even if I just help one person other than myself, this makes the whole thing for me. I'm not in this for money or fame, or like if it comes from it, cool. If not, I'm also cool with that. That's not the purpose of what I'm doing here. I just want to share my journey and kind of document it for myself, like my own selfish reasons, I guess, and see where I was 5 years ago. Man, like, I can't believe I never been hunting before. I never did this or that. And look, this was my first hunt and I have something tangible. And I was curious about like making this one thing. So I talked to this person. I talked to my buddy Brandon about mountain biking and triathlons. And I talked to Elle about how to better understand how your mind works and to not let fear overcome you and how you think. And, the other guests that I've had on, like Barklow and Sitka, and understanding what that gear is and getting to know him better, and Jason Holiday. I mean, the list goes on, and hopefully it'll keep going on. But that, like I said, this is just really awesome time at Total Archery Challenge and at Crystal Mountain this year. Recommend it to everybody. And stay tuned. This is just kind of quick, brief overview, encouragement to do the whole solo adventure if you've never done it. If you can do it with friends, do it. Just don't be afraid. Just, if you are afraid, push yourself anyways, because there was definitely Saturday. I will say Saturday, before I log off, I was very content with what I did Friday, going, well, I went to the first one. I'm kind of comfortable at my tent site. I don't really know if I want to go and shoot Saturday. Man, would I have missed out, because Saturday shooting, I did way better and I had way more fun because of the different terrain and hiking that I saw. But I was almost okay with not doing it because I was comfortable. Don't let comfortability ruin your life by letting it rule you. It's something I've done for a very long time, and I'm kind of sick of it and getting over it. And I just encourage you guys to do the same. And at the very least, encourage me. I'd love to hear from you guys. Like I said, share, comment, leave a rating. It really does help grow this for other people that might be in the same boat. Even if you're not, you might know somebody that this might reach to, and I would encourage you to share that with them, because you never know how this could change that person's life for the better, and they, I'm sure, would thank you down the road. But that being said, stay tuned. I will go more in depth with Aaron from Michigan Ambush in the next coming week. I don't know when that podcast will go up. Stay tuned to the social media, Instagram, Forging Roots, Facebook, Forging Roots, or you can follow my personal account for it. It's on there too. But when that goes live, it'll be more in depth, kind of get his perspective as somebody who's shot before coming in. And then he's going to ask me, like, what did I think? And ask me more like beginner questions for those of you who've never done it yourself. So, yeah, I thank you guys for listening again to this week's episode of Forging Fridays, and encourage you to go out and do the same and push your comforts and push yourself out of your comfort zones. Talk to you later, guys.